And here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. We have another first, debut on BWTM Sports. I am really proud and glad to welcome Melissa Odessa to BWTM Universe. Melissa, how are you doing?
Hi. Hey, everybody. I am doing good. I'm in the second half of my training camp preparing for February 20th. So I'm feeling good and I feel ready.
Well, fantastic, and welcome to the show. First of all, Melissa, let's know a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I made the U.S. team at 15 with only 4 fights. I was able to beat the number one chick in the country and represent the U.S. in Worlds back in 2005. I'm a 9-time national champion. I fought in ringside. I've won that 3 times. My record's about 89-22. So I've been boxing on and off roughly like 20 years. And I turned pro last year, and I'm now 3-0. I'm NABF Champion at 122, and hopefully I can snatch up some world titles soon.
Wow. So where did this journey begin for you for boxing?
So the funny story is I actually started boxing in Connecticut, even though I'm from New York. My mom had moved out there, and I wanted to stay in New York, but she finally got me to go out there because I was staying with family. And within a few weeks of me being there, unfortunately, someone in my class had passed away. And part of the wake was at a boxing gym. And I knew absolutely nothing about amateur boxer. I just knew about street fighting. So I was like, wait, I could fight and not get in trouble? Sign me up. And from the first day, I just fell in love with the sport, the complexity of it. And it's been a life's journey since then. Even my career choices, I was on the Marine Corps boxing team. Then I was recruited into the Army, and I represented them with the world-class boxing program. And then I got out, and now I'm pro.
So I always ask this question, male or female. What was it like when you took your first punch to the chin or on the nose?
It wasn't bad because I've taken punches before that. So I was like, man, let's go. I could do
this. So you were a natural brawler. You were one that liked to fight anyway.
Yeah, they had to finesse me because I was real rough around the edges. They put me in there with a guy just to like show me. They were old school. So when you started, the first thing they do is put you in that ring. Man, I just let my hands go. I was throwing and swinging, and I got on. They said, man, we could work with you. I said, please do. So they got me to tone down and actually learn how to properly punch and put combinations together. And I learned how to be a boxer. And that's why I'm so good at fighting in the pocket, but I can also fight long range.
It's really interesting you say that because people from the outside watching boxing think that, all you have to do is throw a few punches, get fit, throw a few punches, and you can become champion. But there's an art to this sport. Talk to me about the dynamics of being that once upon a time street brawler to finessing and becoming a boxer, and the changes and the dynamics going through that process.
Yeah, there's so much with boxing. Even though you only dealing with strikes from the hands, you still have to be concerned about your stance because if you get punched a certain way, it can throw you off balance. You could get knocked down. And if a fight's close, that's the last thing you want. You also need to know how to fight people, be versatile. So you got to know how to step in and close the distance. You got to know how to push off your feet and create distance. You have to see what strengths and weaknesses there are. So should you come with an uppercut? Should you come with a hook? And those are the things that I've been able to learn is how to educate myself in the fight game and not just go out there and think, well, we're just going to punch it out and whoever gets the best of the other wins.
So with a situation like that, how did you deal with off days where you went in the gym, you didn't really want to be there? Because we've all had it as when boxing, you go in the gym and some days you don't really want to be there. You're preparing for a fight and you're like, oh, my mates are going out and this is happening and that's happening. I'm not feeling great. You train on, you should just spar. You need to give the extra round and it's not there. How did you overcome those challenges?
Well, I still have those days. I'm 34. I get tired. I have 2 kids. At one point, I was also a full-time student. There's been times where I've had a job on the side. So I'll be extremely tired, but that's when you have to start thinking about how much you want it, or you have to just not think at all and just immerse yourself in what you're doing, where you just hit that switch and you just get into it. And most of the time, that's what I do because I love what I do. It's a pretty easy switch. So as long as I get myself to go, then I'm good.
So when you're fighting, like there's motherhood there for you as well. So obviously, I'll ask the question to men, and they ask one, but for yourself, motherhood, and then first being a fighter, then becoming a mother, did that affect your psyche in any way, shape, or form when you were in the ring, throwing punches or receiving punches? At any point in time, did that come through your mind, or was an issue to you?
Yeah, I actually had to take a break from boxing. My firstborn, my daughter Malia, she was born with a left congenital diaphragmatic hernia, and she had a 12% survival chance. So the first 2 years of her life, I actually took a break to be able to take care of her and help her through that. And when I wanted to come back, I battled through that because I was like, man, one, should I be more concerned with being there for her, or should I return to a sport that demands so much of my time? And I'm glad I did because it's actually a bonding experience. I make my children a part of it. I take them to the gym with me. They go to my fights if they can. They watch it when we're in the gym. They'll call things out to me and tell me what to do sometimes. Or they'll be like, man, mommy, in between fights, you're getting fat. You may not want to do that. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's sweet. That's sweet. So, talk to me about being from the street fighter to now world class boxing. They're worlds apart,
Mhm.
but how much are they worlds apart? And when did you realize that, okay, I can fight, I can box, but now I'm doing world class boxing here. When did you know you cut it and you could go from that level for being the street fighter to the boxer to being a world class athlete?
Well, I always joke about street fighting, but I don't really compare the two because in any situation, if you feel like you're fighting for your life or if it feels like survival, you're going to have a different kind of mindset. And unfortunately, being from where I was, we fought because that's what would happen growing up. There was a lot of fights happening. And so
Yeah.
it's not like I wanted to fight. I was in positions where I had to. So what I would do is I went into boxing and it taught me how to calm down, and I actually learned how to walk away from fights more. So I was able to turn this anger that I would have whenever someone would say something to me. And instead of just wanting to hit them, I had so much to lose because my first coach, Larry Pelletier from Connecticut, he always told us, if you fight outside the gym, don't come back. And so that stuck with me because the last thing I wanted to do is actually lose my spot with the team in the gym. And
Wow.
the last street fight I got into, I didn't even want to fight her and I wanted to walk away, but I did fight and I got into so much trouble. And I remember that feeling of, oh man, the thought of not being able to box actually hurt me. And that was the last street fight I ever had. I've walked away from any kind of like pressure that I feel from someone coming at me because you'll have people test you, unfortunately, but I handle it pretty well. As a boxer, it's a sport. It's a craft that you're learning. It's the sweet science. So there's so much to it that I don't even see the correlation between street fighting and boxing. Did it help me prepare? I don't really think so because when I first started, I was lost in the sauce. I didn't know what I was doing. I had to put in the work. I had to shadow box. I had to learn the combos. I had to hit the bag. So I did everything that anyone else would do. The difference is we go out, I got your back.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. It's amazing when you talk about your amateur coach. These coaches are pretty iconic because their words come back and revisit you, either you at a tournament or at a moment where you're down, a moment you need inspiration. You may have thrown a combination, you go back to the corner, and you can remember the coach saying certain things to you. you lifting a trophy, you remember the things the coach said. For you, what's been the most important thing, apart from that, which was to keep you off the streets? What's the most important thing that your amateur coach taught you that still resonates with you today?
Oh man, I've had a few coaches, especially being on the U.S. team and due to
Yes,
military background, I had to
of
move up.
course.
And the things that stick with me is just how no matter what, they always had me push forward, no matter what was going on in life. And that's why I built such a strong rapport with my manager and head boxing coach, Andre Rozier, because I've known him more than half my life. So whenever I've been going through something, he's usually one of the people I'll turn to because he understands my lifestyle as a boxer, and he's also a parent. So he gets it. And one of the things that all my coaches have done is you can't give up. When you have talent the way that I do, you don't just walk away from it. You choose your battles because you're never going to go through life without one. Everyone has like a hard. It's just what hard do you want? You could be out of shape or you could get in shape. You can work hard or you can just kind of carry it through and then you have to deal with getting beat up. So I always kept that mindset of which hard do I want? Because life is always going to throw something at you. So I'd rather it be within boxing and having boxing to get me through it, even if it's something personal. That makes sense.
It makes plenty of sense. Makes plenty of sense. So,
Okay.
growing up around women's boxing, where were you at the time? Let's say when Layla Ali was fighting, Riker was fighting. Where were you? What were you doing at the time? And were you watching those girls doing their thing?
Man, I was. Jamie Clampett is one of my favorite female boxers just because I had never seen anything like that. I went to a pro amateur show. The amateurs won the undercard. And then she came out and she was throwing bombs trying to take this girl out. And I never seen anything like it. And I was like, that's what I want to be. I want to be aggressive like that. I want to hurt people in the ring. And then
Yeah.
I saw, Lucia Riker and Wolf.
Mm.
So the beginning of my amateur career started with me seeing those women who paved the way for me to be able to be pro now.
And how does that make you feel, knowing that you are on the cusp of being a superstar female fighter, and you know that you will be walking in the midst of those that have followed the likes of the Alis, the Rikers, the Ann Wolves, that your name could well be mentioned in the new crop of fighters, female fighters?
That's surreal. I hope that I could make a difference, even if it's not me who gets women to be able to get the kind of pay we deserve. If I'm one of the women who starts getting better pay, that's still one step forward. Because at the end of the day, with time, no one's name is going to be remembered forever, but the impact you had and the changes you were able to help make is what goes on. So I look forward to those kind of things. For instance, Christy Halbert. She has been such a pioneer for women's boxing. She could have retired and said, you know what? It didn't work out for me. They don't let women do certain things. I'm done. But she made that transition and has fought for women on the amateur level, on the pro level. And I always remember her because I remember what she's done for us and not what she did for herself. So I'm grateful, and it will be so dope if I hear my name among Mia St. John's and Ann Wolf's and Layla Ali's, because then it means like, man, my talent was recognized and I actually entertained and people enjoyed me. And I love to entertain. So I think it would be pretty dope if I ever hear my name among them.
Okay, so let's talk about your professional career. You signed with Havoc and advisory with Andre Rozier. Of course, we spoke to Andre before, and he told me a lot about you. There's a lot of positive things about you. So how's it working with yourself and Andre now then? How's that relationship working?
It's working really well because we've known each other so well, and he understands my life, especially as a mom. My primary residence is in Houston, Texas, H-Town.
Yes, shout out to Houston, Texas.
I spend half my camp at home back in Texas, and then I do my second half of my camp here in New York. So he's really understanding that I can't go a whole camp without my kids, or I fly in and I go see them during camps. and he's hard on me just because he knows what I'm capable of. So it's weird because we don't really get into it. You think we would clash more, but I just deal with why he throws at me because I know it makes me better. I don't think there's many females out there who can fight the way I do. I don't look at myself as a female fighter. I look at myself as a fighter because when I'm in there in the gym and I'm going with the guys, I'm doing everything I can to be able to perform the way they are. And that's how he treats me.
Fantastic. The importance of investing in yourself as a fighter, to have a world-class trainer like Andre Rozier. What would happen if you didn't have a world-class trainer? Like you just said, any old person trained you. What would the difference be? And what is the value that Andre Rozier brings to you as a fighter?
You can't put a price on the kind of trainer I have. I'm like almost a piece of clay. You can make anything out of it. But someone who's really talented, they're gonna make something so unique, something so beautiful. We've all seen bosses, but when you see a beautiful one or you see a beautiful piece of art, you admire it. And that's what he does with us fighters, especially me. He molds us, he takes our strengths and he makes us stronger. He'll take our weaknesses and he'll work with it to be able to improve on those things. I wouldn't be the fighter that I am without him because he was able to get me at a young age and work with me and get me to where I am because I didn't step in the gym being this good. I was developed into it and I put in the hard work. So between us as a team and what he's put in me, this is the results of hard work, dedication, and knowing what your boxer is capable of. So yeah, it's a great recipe. We have all the ingredients.
So I was watching your knockout with your short right hand stepping back, or I say southpaw stance. It's the right. It was the right. It was right hook, wasn't it? You stepped off, and the girl came in.
The left.
Left. So yeah, you're southpaw. So left. Yes.
Yeah, it was left.
So it's left. Yeah. So she was coming in. Boom! Beautiful shot. When you landed it, you think, yeah, God, that's it. She's done.
Yeah, I was surprised that the ref let it continue after the way she went down, but we are pros. So, if the ref feels they deserve another chance, we went ahead, we went back at it, and I was able to get her in the corner. And one of the things you have to remember is if you have someone in the corner, you want to gauge what they're doing. Obviously, they're tired, so that's your time to be aggressive. So that's when I just brought the rumble out in me and I started throwing combinations, but I went to the body and back to the head so you can't see what I'm bringing. And it was able to work because I delivered it right on the chin, something that we work on for hours. Even my head MMA coach, Adam Copley, that's something he's always working on me with me when I'm doing my boxing training, is that step back, that pull back, that sidestepping, the pivoting, going around your opponent and being on their back shoulder. You already can't see my left hand as a southpaw. So if I'm able to learn how to maneuver and move, I'm putting myself in an even greater position where you're not going to see what I'm following it up with.
Science, we call that science.
Ooh,
Love that talk. Sweet, isn't it? So sweet. Oh, so sweet. So, okay, so you now, let me get this correct. This is going to be your fourth fight. Am I correct on this now?
Yes, February 20th will be my fourth professional bout.
And this is for a world title. Am I correct?
So my head hurts just thinking about it. I'm going to give you a quick rundown.
Okay, tell me what's going on.
The sanctioning body is trying to give me all gray hairs. We had it set up where Maria Roman, the 118 IBF champion, agreed to fight us. We were ready to sign contracts and make it happen. The IBF president came back and said, you don't have enough fights. It can't happen. So we sent him my background information, the whole thing, 89 and 22, all my major titles, how long I've been boxing. I don't even know if he read it because he came back and he goes, you don't have enough fights and that's it. You need more fights before you can fight for the IBF. So we said, okay, if we can't fight for the IBF, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and fight for the IBO. Try to set that up. He comes back and tells us that if she fights me for the IBO at 122, which is a different weight class, that he will strip her of her belt. So now we're in a position where she's a world champion and we have to respect what she has. I'm not going to fight her for a regional title. So now what fight do we have when we have the sanctioning body who doesn't want to allow us to fight? She hasn't fought in a year and a half. She had 2 fights pull out. So we both want to fight to stay active. And he just shut it down and said, it's not happening. I don't care. But if she fights, we're going to strip you. So we're back to square one. Yeah, I can't
Wait,
believe it. I myself am baffled.
wait. Lomachenko fought in how many? Fought is what his first or second pro fight? He fought for a world title. Am I correct?
I believe so. And then you also have Clarissa Shields
Mm-hmm.
and you have a few others. I think there's a difference when you have an amateur background compared to just going straight into the pros. So it's a little frustrating because I don't feel respected for what I've done in boxing. I'm not on Clarissa's level. I am not on Katie Taylor's level. I didn't accomplish everything they have, but I am one of the few females who was able to win 9 national titles, who has won every single tournament in the United States. I've won multiple Golden Gloves. So I thought with me having that background and having so many fights, that they would be okay with me fighting for this title, especially when she doesn't have anything lined up.
But
But that doesn't be
the
the case.
WBA is vacant, isn't it? That's what I
Yes,
was
but
looking at.
now you have Shannon Courtney versus Rachel Ball fighting for it. And I'm
Okay.
old. I don't want a vacant belt. I want to win it. I want to earn it. I want to take the strap from you and be like, who's next? Because I took it from her. You can't do that with a vacant belt.
What are your thoughts on Shannon Courtney, by the way?
I don't know too much about her. I know more about Rachel Ball because Rachel Ball is actually the interim champion for 122. That's
Yes.
why I went ahead and got the NABF title because we were going to go after Yamilif Mercado at 122 for the WBC. But now the belt is tied up because Rachel Ball is her mandatory. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on because Rachel Ball is now going down to 118 and fighting for the vacant WBA. So everyone's jumping weight classes to get a belt and tying it up. So that's why I didn't understand why the IBF is having a problem with us fighting for a title that hasn't been defended in so long.
Do you have any suspicions as to why that would be?
I really don't because we reached out to him. He won't answer. We reached out to the other one, Carlos. He won't answer. But I'll tell you what, if you're a little pretty promoter that hits him up, he'll get back to you real quick because he's answering all of their promoters and managers. But then when my manager hits him up, crickets. We can't get, I even called the office. I called his direct line. We cannot get him to talk to us because I want to understand what is it that you want from me so that I can fight for a title. How many fights makes it okay? Because I can fight every week and keep knocking these chicks out and pad my record. Is that what he wants? Or I could fight quality girls and we can help bring excitement to women's boxing and showcase our skills. So I don't know what they want.
Is money always talks, they say?
But we have the money. We respect her as a world champion who has defended her title, and we offered her the amount of money she deserves. And you would think they would take it because they get a cut from that, their sanctioning fees. But the only thing we keep getting back in response is you have to have more fights. Nothing.
So would you consider the winner of Rachel Ball and Shannon Courtney as the next fight for you? Was that a way you could go down that route?
Well, since I'm the NABF champion at 122, I'm just going to stay to 122. I'm going to stick to it and we're going to see what we can make happen because I really don't want to be one of those fighters who keep jumping around weight classes trying to make it work. It was an opportunity that presented itself, so we jumped on it because it would have been a great fight. But if that falls through and we're not able to fight at 118 or 122, I'm going after everybody at 122. So hopefully we can figure it out, because you have the WBC tied up, you have the WBO tied up, the IBF, the chick who fights at 118 just went up and won it. So I wouldn't mind going against her to defend it. And now you have them fighting for the WBA. I think the chick hasn't even fought in a while. So there's a lot going on with the weight class that isn't being beneficial towards us. So hopefully we can get some clarification and go after someone with a belt, because I really don't want to chase regional belts. But I feel like for my background, I don't want to just keep fighting for nothing, and I need the motivation. So I need a belt.
So there are regional belts like the WBF and IBU and belts like that. Is that something that you would take? Because they say the champion makes the belt doesn't make the champion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm looking to be ranked. So I only want belts that are going to help me towards my ranking. So if we got to go for the NABO, then that's fine. I don't know if there's a regional title for the IBF. If we have to go for the NABA, that's fine. But I can't call out world champions to fight me for regional titles. I'm a top level fighter, even though I haven't been pro long. I fought the best of the best in the amateurs who are now pros. I fought Michaela Mayers, who is now a world champion. I stood toe to toe with her. So I'm capable of fighting them. It's not exciting for me to just fight girls who are up and coming and don't have the experience, because we're going to have the same thing happening where I'm going to get in the ring and I'm going to get them out the ring quick. And I don't want that. I want someone who has an answer for me. I want to go past one round,
So let me ask you this question. So then, is there any possibility in your mindset that you would boycott the IBF because of the way they've treated you?
I won't boycott them, because I'm going to need that belt if I'd like to be undisputed, but I'm not going to chase it. And honestly, screw them. They don't want to be part of the solution. They're part of the problem. If For as long as I don't need them, they can go to hell for all I care at this point, because what they're doing doesn't make sense and they're being extremely difficult. So we're just going to look at other opportunities until we're in a position where we need the IBF. And at that point, I'll have 3 belts. So what will they say to me then?
What do you think boxing fans will make of what's going on with you, your situation?
I hope they become furious. I hope that they voice their opinions. I hope they find his office number and call. Make it so that he cannot get any phone calls, because it stays busy. Because it's ludicrous. I don't want to be mean and I don't want to attack anyone, but I don't understand it. So I have to be able to let everybody know what's going on, and they deserve to know what's going on, because a lot is done in the dark, and it's time for boxers to speak up so that it doesn't continue.
Okay, so the IBF and you won't be sending Christmas cards to one another this year, I take it.
I might put a bag of poop in front of the office door and light it on fire. I'm joking.
I like the idea though. You're the second person I've spoken to from the third person I've spoken to who've had issues with the IBF. Tyson Fury, the IBF. Sean Porter, the IBF. When he lost his belt, it was no longer the IBF rankings, and now yourself. So something about the IBF.
Don't forget the fighter from China who is a unification match, and unification matches are supposed to trump mandatories.
Right.
He just got denied. So maybe it's not personal, but I don't know what's going on. It would be nice if they did a press conference or released a letter or something.
Yeah, it would be. Okay, moving on. So if you could get your hands on certain fighters, who would be those fighters? If you had a hit list of fighters, you could say, yeah, I want her.
If you're in the featherweight division, you're on my hit list. 122, I'm coming. Then I'm going to 126. So anyone that's been running their mouth about me, guess what? I'm a step up. So Yamileth Mercado, like I said, she was my number one pick to be able to go after. She's young, she's talented, she's defended her title. So I would have liked to be able to show that I still got it and where I'm at, because once I beat her, it's gonna show that I'm legit.
So, okay.
Or is another one. If she comes back up to 122 and she's able to get that belt, I wouldn't mind running it with her. She's another talented fighter.
Dream matchup.
Dream matchup?
Yeah.
Oh man. Whoever's the match that gets me to undisputed. That's my dream match.
Okay, so you really want this undisputed thing. So, when you look at Jessica McCaskill and Clarissa Shields, what does that do for you? How does it make you feel when you look at those two women? And of course, Katie Taylor as well.
Yeah, it motivates me. It shows me that when you put your mind to something, you can make it happen, and that it is possible. You don't have to jump around weight classes. You don't have to, find whatever you can get. You could, put your foot down, stand your ground, and get quality fights and go for those belts. So I look at them, and while I don't look up to them, I respect them and I admire what they're doing, because I think that's what's going to bring excitement to boxing. Because now it forces all the up and comings to fight each other. Now it forces everyone who's a contender to step up and fight them. Now you have the best of the best going at it because you want to be undisputed. That's exciting.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the 2-minute, 3-minute story. So 2 minutes around females fight app. I was with James Elibashir the other day, and he was talking about 2 minutes around is rubbish. Women should fight 3 minutes around, and it's a nonsense. What are your thoughts on that?
If they feel that, women and men are equal in boxing, then give us 3 minutes. Do you know what it's like being the only female at a boxing gym and I have to change the minutes when I'm a few weeks out to camp? Like, they get so mad at me. And I'm like, but I have to pace myself for 2 minutes. Like, it's not my fault. Plus, if you're powerful, if you're aggressive, 3 minutes helps, because a lot of the times towards the end of those 2 minutes, you can see that they're gassed. You can see they're ready to get out of there. And then the bell rings. A whole minute will make such a difference, especially as a pro, because you don't want to feel rushed. You want to break your opponent down. And having those 3 minutes, you could take your time. You could work behind your jab instead of going in there and just throwing a flurry of punches.
Do you think by having 3 minutes that also means you'll get paid by 3 minutes as well? What do you think?
I don't know. I think the issue with the pay is that we don't have top fighters fighting other top fighters, and we're not being marketed the way that they market the men, and our fights aren't being promoted the way that it should be. So if you don't know about us fighting, how are you going to want to tune in and watch? And if you're fighting people you fought already, you're fighting the same people 2 or 3 times, or you're fighting someone who man, she ain't on her level, you don't want to watch. Better pay is going to come with better quality fights and with promoters signing us so we can be put on those top cards.
I always remember back in the day, the Tyson fights and Holyfield fight, all these big top heavyweight fights would be on, and you'd have the women fighters in between as either fillers or undercard fights, and you'd be like really exciting. So you'd have to watch a females fight before you saw the main event. That was a real, and that's how a lot of the fighters we got to see. Do you think that's something that should happen again? More female fighters being given those slots?
Yes, most definitely. And we're starting to see a little bit more of it. You have promotions like Matchroom Boxing.
Yes.
You also have Top Rank, even though hopefully they sign a few more females because they're not really stacked with females yet. Oscar De La Hoya's promotion, he has a few females. So you're seeing more women being added to the undercard. And that's how it starts, because most women, we're filling up those seats. People want to come see us fight. So once we're on the undercard and we keep fighting, we eventually work our way to the main card, to co-feature, then main event. So hopefully that's the way it'll continue, but it's not going to happen that way if we're not under a solid promoter, because promoters are the ones that are putting the shows together.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about not so much the fight game. Let's talk about the eating game. What do you like to eat? What sort of food do you like?
Man, let me tell you, I can eat. Like, I may be a featherweight, but I can pack it on like a middleweight to a heavyweight. So when I'm in camp, it's discipline. But outside of training camp, man, I love pizza. I love burgers. Ooh, I love candy like Swedish fish and chocolate chip cookies.
Wow. Okay, all good. What about music? Who do you listen to chill out to? And who do you listen to get you ramped up?
It depends on how I'm feeling. I have a real eclectic taste in music. I listen to anything from alternative rock to jazz to R&B and hip hop. But I like to listen to some instrumental stuff when I'm warming up to keep my heart rate down and to be in a good mood. I actually don't listen to anything like real pumped up, which I know a lot of people are thrown off by, but it just puts me in a good place because I don't feel the need to be rattled up to get the job done.
Okay. What were your thoughts on the Rocky movies?
Man, I've seen all of them.
What do you think of them?
I think they're good, but my favorite boxing movie is actually Main Event with Barbara Streisand. Like,
okay.
I love that movie so much. Yeah.
What about $1 Million Baby? Do you remember that?
That's not even worth talking about. Let's talk about Cinderella Man. That was a good movie.
Okay, all right, okay, all right. Any reason why you don't like $1 Million Babe?
It wasn't really. I understand it's for entertainment, but I think it's sad that they decided to take that route and the fight ends with her falling on a stool, and then that's how she winds up in the hospital and passing away. That's what they think we want to see for a movie about women's boxing, and there aren't many out there. So I was disappointed with that.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're speaking out about it. So in terms of being an outspoken individual, speaking up for what you believe in, do you think that does you more favors and gets you more fan base, or do you think it makes you unpopular?
I think people could see it's part of my personality. I'm not a mean person, but I'm not about the bullshit. So I'm quick to call things out. I call it like I see it. If it walks like a duck, if it sounds like a duck, it's a duck. And that's how I am.
Okay.
It'll turn some people off, but I think once you continue getting to know me and you see how I am, you see that I'm just one of the real ones. I put it out there, and I'm always going to be me, and I'm not going to tone it down for anyone, but I don't make it personal. So as long as you don't disrespect me, I won't come for you.
Social media. Let's talk about it. Let's go there. What are your thoughts on social media? Let's start with the best place to start, Twitter. What are your thoughts on Twitter?
Twitter could get you in trouble because
oh yeah.
Let me tell you, Twitter is like being live. When something happens, you jump on it. And once you say something, it gets retweeted. So don't tweet something, because even if you delete it, somebody done already got a screenshot of it. Because I already done been blocked on Twitter. So I'm learning I'm not learning nothing because I'm going to keep saying what I say.
You're absolutely sorry to nobody for nothing.
So when it comes to Twitter, I think Twitter is fun, especially when it comes to current events.
Yeah.
Instagram, though, is a whole nother ball game because it's like a novela up in there. You know, it's supposed to be pictures, but them captions and the stories and people
the
go at it. Yeah. So I like Instagram. That's where I'm on. So you can find me at Melissa Odessa on Instagram, and I'm also Melissa Odessa on Twitter. But everything I post is on Instagram. I actually deleted my Facebook because it's so bad on Facebook, and it's real negative, in my opinion, the things I saw. So I decided to just jump ship and stick with Instagram and Twitter for now.
How do you find, what do you think of people that don't box telling you what to do and how to box? I mean, you've got a lot of experts across social media.
It's entertaining. People either love you or hate you. You don't want people in between. That's how you know you're doing something right. So as long as you're engaging with me, say whatever you want, because there's a delete button, there's a block button, and then you can ignore. But so far, I don't really get it because I back up everything I say. So I haven't really gotten any negative feedback when it comes to my fighting. Some of the things I say, I've gotten feedback on. I just ignore it because if you're not writing my checks, you're not setting up my fights, you're not part of my camp, you don't affect my life.
That's it. So it don't matter. Right, come back February 20th. So for everybody who needs to know, what is that going to be a televised event, by the way?
Yeah, so it's going to be streamed through IFL TV, but it's actually going to be through YouTube. I am going to post the link in my bio once it's available, but everyone stay tuned for it because it will be live streamed. And if you're in Orlando, buy a ticket and come on through and watch some good fights.
So where's it going to be? So for people to know where the fight's going to be.
It's going to be at the Caribbean Royale Resort in Orlando, Florida.
Fantastic, Melissa. Any final words before you disappear?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Yeah, I'm breaking up. Any final words before you go?
Yes, I want to thank everyone who tuned in to my interview. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a pleasure. Once again, tune in for February 20th. If you want to keep up with updates, find me at Melissa Odessa on Instagram. And it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Melissa Odessa, thank you so much for being on BWTM Sports. Thank you, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. That was Melissa Odessa. She fights on February 20th. And thank you once again, Melissa, for an excellent interview. That's it from us. Thank you so much for watching us on BWTM Sports. Hope you've enjoyed the interview. Hope that you've enjoyed getting to know about Melissa Odessa. And yes, it will be on IFL TV.
Yeah.